Hello and welcome back to another episode of Let's Play LOTRO, and today we're beginning the next chapter of our story then. So today I'm on my Rune-keeper Adlanniel, who is not my first Rune-keeper because he's a dwarf and he's much higher level. So she's like my second B-team Rune-keeper. And today we're having an elf walkthrough shot. We're also on Talon Haldir with Haldir, who's right next to me with a big fat quest ring above his head. So if I reactivate the UI so we can actually talk to him. There's some weird string in shot as well. It's just kind of messed up. Oh, it's gone now. There's like a weird line over there. So I'm going to be talking loads about the Rune-keeper class as we go through the next bunch of videos. And I'll slowly be throwing out bits of Rune-keeper knowledge out there. But we need to begin the Volume 2 Book 9 epic story. So we've got a foreword, the Dark Shore, which is to go talk to somebody who is at the docks in Laurelin. So this is down here by the banquet Laurelin the Hive. So I need to quickly get down there off camera and I will meet you guys down there. Okay, so we're back and we're down at the banquet Laurelin the Hive. We're just on the bridge. We're going to go across to the north side, and over on the right here we're able to meet with Balthelion. And I think you can also pick up this quest directly from Balthelion himself. So we're just going to speak to him, and all he's going to say is you need to board the boat and cross the Anduin to assault the Mirkwood, which is like the landing point, which begins like the prologue instance. It's the equivalent of kind of like the Walls of Moria, where you're kind of like in a separate instanced area of the world rather than the open world version of it. So we can see over there. I think we make our landing. Trying to get my bearings actually. I think actually we make our landing further up the river, to be honest, because I think this is on the southernmost point. But yeah, there was a very funny video back in the day. I'll have to see if I can dig it out on the internet, but it was the day before Mirkwood launched, and some guy organised like practically everyone on his server. There was hundreds of damn people on the banks of the Anduin, and they organised a charge to swim across the river and assault the other side. And the funny thing was, you know, the landscape did exist at that point prior to the expansion going live, but they had like ridiculously high level mobs that would like one-shot any player that got across. But of course, if you assault the place with like several hundred players, sure, you're going to lose a few people, but you know, you're going to get across. And they did, and they broke the server. They caused it to crash because there's like just overloaded how many people were in one place at one time, because this is before the concept of multiple layers of the same area existed in the game. So that was quite funny. But yeah, I'll see if I can dig out the link for that. In the meantime, we're going to come down to the docks themselves then, just heading west. And down here there's going to be a little swan boat that we can climb into, and oh, this guy having a swim. Oh god, I fell in as well. Ah! Oh, for fuck's sake. I feel your pain, mate. I fell in as well. Did he literally try jumping in the boat? I don't know. Right click that, and we get taken across. So this now takes us to Echad Syrian, which if I bring up the map of Mirkwood, just dunk that out of the way a bit. So we start off on the western bit on the banks of the Anduin. We've got the Mirkwood here. Then we've got the Dowerstocks, the Drownholt, Emedlum. Emedlum is the capital of the region, although all the barterers are over in Gathburs, but whatever. Scuttledales to the north, Tor Morvith to the south, Ashen Slades, and then Dol Guldur is the final finishing point, and that's where the instance cluster is as well. So we'll slowly be like weaving our way through the region as we do the epic story in tandem with the landscape quests. So for now, we're kind of like in an instance bit. We need to basically assault and establish the beachhead, and then kind of make our way further into the woods. So we're going to speak to a few people. We're going to pick up a few quests, and they're all going to be tagged with expedition. So it's just like the Walls of Moria. Before you got into Moria, you had a bunch of expedition quests. So let's just clean this up. And I don't think you have to do all of them. There's only some that you have to do, and the rest, you know, they're considered optional. But we'll do all of them anyway. So we'll just pick up all these things. We have to collect up a few crates as well from the camp. some of these we also have to go exploring around the area and just try and find a few bits and pieces. But we can't get forward into the next regions because there'll be a locked gate that we haven't broken down yet, basically. So go have a rummage through the supplies, try and look for some bandages. Some of the elves are already on the floor. So I've only got 2. There's another set of boxes over here. So all the elves that come across as part of this party are known as the Maladrim, as opposed to the ones over in Caradhon, who are known as the Galadrim. So it's a different rep faction, and they're the rep faction for Mirkwood. We can get various bits and pieces, some nice bits of armour actually that came with Mirkwood, and various other bits and pieces you might be interested in. There's a couple of like reputation maps, so the one for Warden, one for Hunters, and then the generic one that everyone can use if you get Kindred, which is quite nice. But annoyingly, I think the map actually only brings us back here to Etched Syrian rather than... I mean, no, did they change it to Aminnam? I think the Hunter port and the Warden port come to Etched Syrian.
Mind my words, traveller.
Whereas the reputation one actually goes to Aminnam.
Will you lend me your ear?
Citation needed.
Mind my words.
Right, we can pick up all these quests. There's some more supply crates here. It's been absolutely ages since I last did Mirkwood, so I'm probably going to forget a few things along the way. But Mirkwood's interesting. I quite enjoy it, to be honest. I mean, some people don't like it, especially since it is like pretty dark and grim, and you've just come out of Moria. You've had Laurelin briefly, and you know that's nice, sunny, daylight, and then you end up back in Mirkwood. It's like you never left Moria. So some people didn't really like it. They prefer Enedwaith as an alternative region, which was added after this expansion, which is also fulfills the level 60 to 65 level range. But I prefer Mirkwood out of the 2 regions. I'm not as keen on Enedwaith. The instance cluster which came with it is absolutely fantastic, but not as keen on the landscape quests. Right, hand in this one.
What can I do for you? Mind my words,
The thing is as well these days, with Moria having so much XP in it since they revamped it, it's a lot easier to just come out of Moria, do a quick bit of Lothlorien, and you're pretty much 65 anyway, so you might as well head straight down to Dunland and start the Rise of Isengard expansion. Do we need Skirmisher? I don't know. We need to go over to one of the camps actually to the north. So we've got a camp over here to the northwest, camp to the northeast, a couple of bits to rescue elves near the top, and there's a third camp down the southwest as well. So we'll do the camps first and then figure out what we need. And yes, there is a quest deed for doing the pre-quests here. Ryder, do I need you? No. I'll ignore you. Evil Strongholds and Mirkwood deed. Just find all the little forts and places. Now, as soon as you assault one of these gates, one of these quests, I think is to go and hold a gate. Capture the bridges. I might be wrong. I don't know. Maybe that is it. There we go. You've taken the gate, now defend it. There we go. Forward, assault the gates. So you get a couple of elves that will come with you and hold the gate, and you just basically need to stay here. Don't go too far away from the gate entrance. You can go inside, but if you go too far, you will foul the quest and have to go pick it up again, which is a bit of a pain in the arse. The other thing worth noting as well is inside this instance version of the area, there is this deed head count, which is to defeat 100 enemies while you're inside the instance version. So you probably want to complete that before you leave the expedition phase and transition into the open world bit. There's going to be a couple of guys patrolling around as well as the ones that attack the gate, so make sure that if you do pull stuff, it's not too much and you can handle whatever you pull. Although if you can heal, it's not too bad, but if you get too far ahead of yourself, it's very easy to pull too much. I don't know why those two guys have run outside. Oh, I didn't even see that guy in the corner because they're the same colour. Bang. So currently I'm a lightning spec Rune-keeper. Fire tends to be the preference these days, especially at the higher levels. Fire is less effective in the lower levels because you kind of need the points to make it good. So at the moment I'm lightning spec, and the advantages of lightning spec is that you can pretty much kite. You're not rooted on the floor, so you can sort of wander around, press buttons. Okay, he's just spawned outside. So, you can run around like this, spam all your buttons, nothing pretty much roots you. So it's good for kiting. It's also quite good from the mid-game onwards, because one of your skills does give you a large chunk of morale back, so it kind of makes you pretty sustainable after that point, once you've got that trait. Whereas the fire skills, they're more AoE based and damage over time based, so if you're able to root yourself in one place and then just go to town on people and set them on fire, it's fantastic. And that's why it's fantastic inside instances and why you're in fellowships. But the lightning tends to be more like critical damage based, so you get crits, you do loads of damage, and generally better in solo, I find. Although some people do like leveling in fire. I don't have anything against that, particularly at the higher levels. Once you've got the points to make a good fire build, it's perfectly fine in the open world. How much longer we got? 10 seconds. So it's probably the last group of ads here. Oh, I don't want to go too far in case I'm going to run away from the gate. I don't want to go melee of you. You've held the gate. There we go. Now I can come and kill you. Bang! Oh, I didn't kill you one shot. Electrical touch. Okay, so what do we got? Let's get rid of these deeds for now. So we've completed the assault the gates. Expedition. Do we not have any more? Oh, there we go. Some of them are underneath the epic category. Assault the gates, leaderless. So I think these ones are the ones you have to do, and the ones that are filed underneath Mirkwood are the optional ones. So we'll just add as many of those to the track as we can. Some supply crates in here we need to have a rummage in. Bang. It's pretty cool as well, the effects that the Rune-keepers do. They can tend to cause a bit of graphical overload in some cases. So like the Loremaster. Between Rune-keepers and Loremasters, they tend to just, fill your screen with like fog and storms and lightning and God knows what else, other effects. And that's the funny thing when they launched, is that people were kind of a bit up in arms about them being law breaking. But strictly speaking, the concept of the Rune-keeper and the fact that words have power and words are written down into runestones and whatnot is perfectly viable. I mean, the only issue really is the fact that in game it's a bit more visual. The power behind these runestones. We are causing all these kind of like spell effects to happen essentially. That's the only bit that's kind of a bit law breaking, but you can't just have someone standing there just whispering stuff, because that would look really boring in game, let's be honest. So you have to give them a bit of creative license for that. How many of these crates do we need? 8 crates. So that'd be 3 and 4. They're fighting against. I don't know if somebody else has arrived. Hello. There's loads of these walk riders about. Bang. Right, so we want this war leader guy. So if we come over here. Okay, I thought there was a troll here as well. It's just him apparently. So he's like the local boss mob in this camp. We need 2 of these guys, so we can either kill this guy twice, or we can go to different camps and kill a couple of these. But since we have to go there anyway, might as well. Okay, so that's 1 war leader. That's crates 5 and 6. So, if we mount up, actually there's some crates over there shining in the background. Hello, Mr. Warrior. So back in the days when Mirkwood actually launched as well, this was back before the stat cap was raised, because that was raised with the Rise of Isengard. So back in Mirkwood days, each of your main stats, so might, agility, will, vitality, fate, they were all capped at 650. So basically 10 times your character's level was the calculation factor. So Mirkwood was 650, so it would be fairly easy to cap your main stat back in the day, which meant that you could then focus on rounding out your build by increasing the other stats. So in my case, with my main character being a burglar, I was able to easily cap 650 agility. Or back in the days, really, you wanted might for the physical damage, for the melee damage. But yeah, you could cap probably like about 3 stats, and then just start chucking in points in other bits. So you could get some really interesting builds using items that normally you probably wouldn't use on a certain character, and then people would hate you for rolling for those items in instances. No matter how much you try to explain, look, I'm capped on that, so I need to, get these stats now. So people got very salty if you nicked the good loot back in the day.